Alright, so I just got my new motor in. Actually, literally just got it in. This is a WEG. It's a 2-horse. They didn't have the 1-horse. It was only like $30 more to buy the 2-horse, so I bought that. The frequency, variable speed frequency is not here yet, so we'll have to get that mounted up once it gets here. But now I can kind of set this thing up and get in alignment as far as where the wheels need to go. In the interim, if you look here, I got so excited about the motor that I didn't press record while I was finishing this. All I did was just did a little bit of sanding on it and got it semi-ready to go. And I also cut this 1.5 inch tube. It's 18 inches long that I'm going to go ahead and drill the 5/16 inch bolt in here, and then I'll use a 1/2 inch bolt so that this can rotate on that. So let's go ahead and do that now, and then I can get this jigged up on the machine and I can get ready for my aluminum plate, which I've got to put some steel. I got to through bolt some steel on it so I can make an adjustment in this. All right. Yeah, baby. Get that joker on there. Actually, it's going to go like that. It's going to go like that. That's it. Alright, so we got a metal. I'm going to drill and tap a couple of metal tabs that go through here, and then put a bolt with a slot in that so that this thing can go in and out right through in here. Alright, little interruption. Actually, we were just at the point where I was going to start showing you this. I put these wheels on there, and we're going to have to get this mocked up. We're going to cut some little pieces and bolt those on, and then put some slots in here so that I can slide back and forth through there. So, but in the meantime, check this out. Yeah, baby. There it is. Variable frequency. So I've got some learning to do, honestly. Hopefully there's going to be some wiring instructions in this thing somewhere. That could very well be it right there. All right, so I have both the wheels just temporarily on here. I don't have the bearings yet. They haven't came in, so I have not been able to mill this out and stick the bearings in there. So I've just got it bolted, but I do know that I'm going to want to put a washer in between the wheel and the plate. So with that set up and the way that we've chamfered the wheel a 1/4 inch in, this plate is just a piece of a 2-inch aluminum angle. This plate needs to go in here, but as you can see, I've got to space it out so that the plate can run even inside where the chamfer is on the wheels. So that I've got a piece of 3/8 inch plate here that will work. If I just cut a piece of 3/8 inch plate and then make it about 4 inches long, then I can machine out a slot in there, drill a hole through the plate, and then have this able to go in and out. And that also spaces it out exactly the right amount so that this, I can get this right in the middle of the wheels right there. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of that 3/8, 4 inches long, and then this stuff's 2 inches, so I've got to mill it down to 1.5 inches to fit inside here, and then slot it, and then clean it up, of course. And then after we get done with that, then I'm going to take another piece of this 2-inch, and I'm going to mount it on the front of this plate, and then screw this together, and then chamfer the ends so that the belt has some steel to run against, because you won't wear this out with just aluminum on there. So that's the plan. Let's get going. Alright, so now I'm going to take the piece that we're going to put on the front of the plate, and I'm going to take a 30-degree parallel, and we'll mill off 30 degrees on this. Alright, so now the platen is done. You can see what we did. We've got the piece of 3/8 inch steel on here with these beveled edges that we cut out, and we just have that tapped in from the front. And then I made these 2 pieces. Now these are 1.5 inches wide, but the base back here is 2 inches. That way I can get 2 bolts in there, and they're also just tapped in, and then I ground them out flush so that this thing can move. With the slots cut in so that you can now take the platen and adjust it in and out on the wheels. So I still don't have the bearings yet, so the wheels aren't set. But it's going to be, I've got a, it's about a 3/16 inch washer, I'm thinking is about the spacer that we're going to use behind here. So this is still going to be set right, I believe. So let's go on, let's move on and start making the arm. Alright, so as far as the arm goes, so the other thing I don't have yet is the shock absorber that goes in there. But it says that it goes from 6 inches to 10 inches. So I'm just using the assumption of 8 inches. I already cut, these are 2 of the solid 1.5 inch bar. And I went ahead and cut this just as a temporary, just to see how it goes. But if we put this in here, and I cut these 2 angles at 20 degrees, I'm thinking that that's going to be about right for the tracking wheel to go on here, and also to bore this out and put the handle on for compressing the shock absorber on there. So I cut both of these angles at 20 degrees, and I think that that's going to kind of lift this up just a little bit like that, which is the angle that I want for leverage on the shock absorber. And then the Platen, or I'm sorry, the Platen, the adjustment wheel here, I'm going to make it caster and camber. Okay, so I'll show you how I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is we'll notch this out, and I'm going to put a couple of set screws back in there, so it will not only let it camber, it'll let it caster too. So let's keep on going. Well, the other thing too is you can see how I grooved those. That's so when I put this together, I have something that I can weld into and get me a lot of filler inside there. That way when I grind it off, it doesn't lose any strength. So this is just going to take some doing. This shit is way too thick for this little welder. So let's burn it in there, I guess. All right, so the arm done, we just got the shock in. What I did is I just took the, these are factory ends that clip for whatever. And then I just milled out a couple of dowels and I threaded this. It's a metric thread. And then all I did is take it to the band sander and just radius that off a little bit. And I milled out a couple of these little blocks. Just a 1/2 inch, and my theory is here is that I'm going to drill and then tap and drill a hole through this piece, drill and then tap into this, and that can sit in there and hinge back and forth. So I'm going to take and I'm going to also mill a corner of this off and then round this edge to make it look a little bit nicer, and then this will be able to hinge in here. I don't know which way we're going to go, but then I can take a couple little flathead screws, drill, countersink, and then tap into that plate and put those screws in there. And then that way if you put this one up here too, that will be able to compress and rotate just a bit as it goes through there. So that's my plan. So there you go. You can see the brackets. And it works pretty good. Just we're going to build a handle right here. So actually let me show you something real quick. Put this back over here. So I've looked at a bunch of these different designs, and I've noticed that pretty much everybody makes their belts on this side instead of this side. I decided it'd be easier to be able to take the belt on and off with nothing in the way. To be able to stand right here and manipulate it so you're not leaning over a table. So then, you know, we've got to put the tension wheel up here, a handle, and I'm going to put the handle on the other side. pull it down. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I guess no. If you're going to stand in here, you'd want the handle on this side. So, well, that might be a factor. That might be why. That might be why. So you can get on the side. Well, I just might have fucked up. Because you can't have a handle unless I brought this way back here. Let me look at something real quick. Give me a straight edge. If I brought that back, can I still... Oh no, that'll be fine. I can still put a handle right there. And if that goes right there. That's going to be way underneath it to put the handle. But I do want to have room for my hand to grab it and pull it. Oh, wait a minute. If the fucking belt's there, how are you going to grab it and pull it? Maybe I need to put a lever out here to pull this out. I mean, it takes a little bit of ass to get it down. Well, let me keep messing with it. I'll figure it out. I want to go through the wiring real quick on this. So this is our power cable that's connected to the wall. This says L1, L2, and L3 in for neutral. So that's your ground, right? And L1, L2, it says right in the manual, which is here. When you get this thing, you can see that. It says exactly how to hook that up. That's brainless, all right? What I want to get into is this T1, T2, and T3. Now the green, I just used an extension cord, so the green is not a ground wire. That's actually a power wire, and I'm going to show you what we've done from the motor up to here. All right, on the plate, it's going to tell you how to wire this thing. It says that right here is, that says 230 volt, right? This other side over here is for 460 or 380 volt side. We are using the 230 volt side. It's just your standard 230. Well, it tells you, it says T4, T5, and T6 should be put together and capped off on their own. Now, T7 and T1 go together and they go to L1. T8 and T2 go together and they go to L2. T9 and T3, they go together and they go to L3. So I wrote that down. T1 and 7 go to L1 and I made that black. T2 and 8 go to L2 and I made that white. T3 and 9 go to L3 and I made that green. Let me show you the wires. Alright, again, so according to my chart, I take T1, it says right there on the cable, T1 and T7, I put them together and I connected that to black, according to my chart. Then I took my white one, which is T2 and T8, put them together and I connected to my white. And then I took T3 and T9, put them together, connected them to my green, right? So now if you come back to, if I can do this without looking like, and back here, this is actually T1, T2, and T3, right? Where it says that it's supposed to be L. Well, I don't know what the fucking numbers mean. I don't know what they mean. All I know is that's how it goes. So this was 1 through 7, 2 through 8, and 3 through 9, right? And so you put it on the T1, T2, and T3. And now, I don't know if yours is going to be the same or different, but if you want this thing to go in forward and reverse, you can program it. But I've also found out that if you just switch these two wires, that'll make it run one way or the other. So if it's running backwards, rather than going through the program, which I haven't done, maybe it's easier, but all I know is you can just swap these two, the T1 and T2, and it'll make it run forward and reverse. All right, that's it. All right, so pretty easy. Put that on there, give her a couple twists, make sure it centers up on there, and you hit run. And that's all you have to do. So if you want to make this thing, stay tuned.